We've all been there, right? In a conversation that just hits a wall, or even worse, it totally blows up. But why? Why does that happen? Well, today we're going to try and crack that code. We're diving into the four basic communication styles: passive aggressive, and the one we're all aiming for, assertive. The goal here is to help you start seeing the hidden patterns in your own conversations, and, way more importantly, give you the tools to make them so much better.
So let's just start with a scene that probably feels super familiar. This is straight from a real coaching call. Someone's trying to talk about something really important and stressful, in this case, a family business, and bam, they hit a brick wall, a total nonverbal shutdown. You can just feel that tension, can't you? The whole conversation is pretty much dead on arrival. And this leads to a feeling that I think every single one of us has felt. You know you need to talk about something. You see this problem just sitting there, but you feel totally stuck. It's like your brain only gives you two terrible options. You either pick a fight, or you just stay quiet and let the whole thing get worse. Yeah, that feeling of being trapped, that's your classic fight or flight response, just kicking into high gear. And it pushes us toward these two communication extremes. And let's be honest, neither one is very helpful. In fact, they usually lock us into this vicious cycle that doesn't solve anything and can really damage our relationships. And this slide just lays out that trap perfectly. Look, on one side, you can fight it out. Sure, you might get your point across, but the other person just shuts down. They feel attacked, and you get nowhere. On the other side, you can just ignore it. You avoid a fight in the moment, which feels good, but that problem, it just gets bigger and bigger, and that feeling of trust starts to fade. And this is the cycle so many of us get stuck in. We choose to ignore it again and again and again. We're just being passive, swallowing what we need to say just to keep things calm. But all that pressure, it just builds and builds and builds until, boom, we explode. We swing from one extreme, passive, all the way to the other, aggressive. Okay, so let's put a name to that first extreme, aggressive communication. At its core, it's all about putting your needs first, and only your needs. And what's really important to get here is that this isn't always about yelling and screaming. It can be way more subtle. It can just be inconsiderate, like bringing up a really tough topic at the worst possible time just because you want to get it over with. And here's the complete flip side of that coin, passive communication. This is when you do the exact opposite. You basically silence yourself, your needs, your feelings, your opinions, all because you just want to avoid a fight. And yeah, you might get a little peace in the short term, but the long-term cost is huge because your needs never get met.
But hold on, it gets even more complicated. Because there's this third style that kind of mashes these two together in a really confusing way. It might be one of the most frustrating styles to deal with, actually. We're talking about passive-aggressive communication, the hidden attack.
I mean, the coach in our source material just nailed it with this explanation. Passive-aggressive is a hidden attack. On the surface, it looks passive. It sounds like, oh yeah, whatever you want is fine. But underneath, you're actually trying to get what you want, but indirectly. Maybe through a sarcastic comment, a little guilt trip, or some subtle sabotage. It just creates so much confusion and resentment. So you've got aggressive, passive, and passive-aggressive. And they all have one big thing in common. They lead to disconnection. They're all win-lose strategies. But here's the good news, the really good news. These are not our only options. There is a fourth way, a much, much better way. And that path forward is all about being assertive. This is the style that actually builds connection, that creates respect, and that solves problems. This is the goal. This is what we're aiming for, the path to truly understanding each other. So what does that actually mean to be assertive? Well, it's really all about balance. It's having the ability to say what you need, what you feel, and what your boundaries are, and to say it clearly and respectfully. But, and this is the part that changes everything, you do it while also considering and respecting the needs and feelings of the other person. This right here, this is the entire mindset shift. You're moving from a me versus you mentality to an us versus the problem mentality. You're going from a battle to a team effort. That word "and" is everything. It replaces the "or" that keeps us stuck in that fight or flight trap. Okay, so that all sounds great, right? But how? How do you actually do it, especially when things are tense? Well, the coach in the source material gave a really simple but incredibly powerful script to turn this idea into something you can actually use. It really just boils down to these 3 steps, and they're all designed to make the other person feel safe right from the very first sentence. So first, you just acknowledge that, hey, maybe now isn't the best time. That immediately lowers their defenses. Second, you gently say what you'd like to talk about. And third, you give them the power by asking them to schedule a better time to have the conversation. And here it is in action. Just listen to how different that feels from where we started. It's not a demand. It's not an accusation. It communicates total respect for their time and whatever they're feeling in that moment. It's an invitation to talk, not a command to fight. So why is this so ridiculously effective? The power here goes way deeper than just using the right words. It's about causing this fundamental shift in the emotional climate of your relationship. And this is the heart of it all. Assertiveness works because it's built on a foundation of emotional safety. We forget this all the time, but everyone, and I mean everyone, needs to feel safe before they can be open and honest and really work with you. When we're aggressive, we destroy that safety, but when we're assertive, we build it. So how do we build that safety? The coaching call gave us 3 really practical keys. First, praise your partner for opening up, even if you don't love what they're saying. It just reinforces that it's safe to be honest. Second, acknowledge their struggle. A simple, I can't imagine the weight you're carrying, can change everything. And finally, you have to understand you might be speaking different languages. One of you might need information to feel better, while the other needs a concrete plan. Just knowing that difference is a total game changer.
So as we wrap this up, I really want to leave you with this question. Think about a difficult conversation in your own life right now. Maybe it's with your partner, or your boss, or someone in your family. Which one conversation could be totally transformed if you made a shift away from being passive or aggressive and toward being truly assertive? What could you actually solve if you decided that making the other person feel safe was your #1 priority?